and it's being closely watched by the governments everywhere. Which brings us to the big question. Should India follow Australia's lead? Should we, in fact, force platforms to block under 16 users or face fines, especially when studies show that nearly 95% of Australian children between 13 to 15 years were already scrolling their way into what was being seen as anxiety loops? In India, the scale is far bigger and far more complex. Here, 76% of smartphone-owning teenagers say that social media takes priority over studies. In fact, in rural India, that number crosses 80%. So what really is the answer? A firewall for the future or freedom guided by families and education? Do we ban the scroll or teach the swipe? That's the debate tonight. And I'll be asking those questions to the guests who will be joining me shortly, because this is India Today Group's big project. We have launched 3Cs, which is the Candid Constructive Conversations, a platform that brings together people with opposing views to talk, listen, and engage with empathy. These conversations are not led by politicians, journalists, or party spokespersons. They are shaped by ordinary Indians, you and me, citizens who live with the consequences of the issues being discussed. And that really is the essence of the 3Cs. Real voices, real experiences, and real conversations. Because, ladies and gentlemen, India needs dialogue, not just debates, because disagreements doesn't have to mean disrespect. And because behind every opinion, there is a story. First up, listen to this conversation, which is now up on our YouTube channels, and then I bring in the guests.
As parents, and I really want to say this,
I had to buy an iPad for my son. Now when it comes to social media, unfortunately we live in times where the negatives outweigh the positives a lot.
I feel then, we've put our kids on a bicycle, on a downhill, with they knowing how to ride down, but no brakes, I feel.
My daughter learnt English more through Peppa Pig rather than her preschool or me teaching her. The play-based childhood has completely vanished.
Unfortunately, this world is a reality. It has robbed children of spaces and opportunities and experiences.
Obviously, yes, you would see some negative comments. It is again a way how you embrace it.
How much ever we want for the world to slow down, for the technology to slow down, or our children to be technology free or screen free, it's almost impossible, let's face it. So we might as well embrace it in a regulated, moderated way.
And joining me now is Sharmila Bakshi, principal of the Vasant Valley School here in the national capital. Dr. Amit Sen is the director and co-founder of Children First. He is a psychiatrist. Saru Mukherjee Sharma is a mom and influencer as well. She was part of this entire 3C conversations. We also have Richard Tandon, senior consultant and also a technical developer. I'm going to begin with you, Ms. Bakshi. With 76% of 14 to 16-year-olds using phones more for fun videos than studies, would Australia's under 16 ban widen the gap because city kids find ways around it, or the sense would be that the children in the rural parts of India would perhaps lose an important learning tool?
It's how we look at the telephone. I mean, if you're looking at a mobile as a learning tool, I think COVID gave us the time for us to use. A lot of children during COVID used the telephone as their learning tool, as the mobile, because we were all taking classes online, and it helped children connect with the schools at that time. But while it was a learning tool, it also did a lot of negative things for children, I think in terms of emotional well-being, the security, and even the development of the child, I think the telephone really robs children of at least what we experienced as children, as childhood. I've just come back from a family get together, and it was so sad to see there were these 6 children in the room who were all sitting together but all on their phones. And I think it is so sad, because earlier as children we would go out, we would play, we would have so many games which involved our imagination, our creativity, our just coming together as family. It would be so important, but now all children are stuck on their phones, and I think that is just so unfortunate.
Yes, that's right. So, Saru, come in on this as a parent voice. Australia's ban fines platforms for kid accounts. And as far as working moms are concerned, many would say that sometimes parents also let their children be with their phones. Ms. Bakshi just shared her experience with regards to what she saw at a gathering. Many would say that this is now something that we see on a daily basis, where children are stuck with their mobile phones.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. It is a rather sad reality of today that not just children, actually, grown-ups, adults, you would see them more often. And especially what I've noticed, that even when you're sitting next to each other, rather than being present and talking to one another, we are always on our phones. So I do tend to have these conversations at my place very, very often, and I make sure that at least when we're sitting together, we are actually being the right role model, because I feel like we as parents need to lead with example. And if we are not setting the right example for our children of how we use social media, because my entire work is on social media. But having said that, you wouldn't find me on my phone all the time. But when I am, I will excuse myself and I will, use my another room where I usually dedicate that room for my work. So that is how I am, setting an example in front of my son, that even when my entire work is on social media, I'm not consumed by it. I'm creating content, but I'm not consumed by it. And also, it also depends a lot on how your day goes, like your daily routine. If you as parents, of course we are working, if the child is busy constructively, then he has very little time to spend on social media. So I feel like a lot of these things, if we are able to regulate at our place, then banning will not be required.
Okay.
Is what I feel.
Okay, Dr. Sen, from your clinical studies, with data of showing now that there is a surging adolescent anxiety, which is definitely linked to scrolling, would it then justify Australia like under 16 ban? Or does India's parental consent model under what we have, like that is the DPA, which is better placed to address a concern of this nature?
Yeah, I think to start with, we must recognize that the rates of mental health challenges has spiked sharply after COVID, and that is because so much of time is spent on gadgets, on social media, and there was no option, so we had to do it, and that trend continues. And there is during COVID times, there was a 5-fold increase in symptoms of depression, anxiety, substance misuse, self-harm, including suicide. We've not seen as many suicides in the last 20 years as we have seen in the last 2. So it's shocking, it's alarming. And I have no doubt, and in our practice also, we see this over and over again. And there are newer studies which are coming up, which some say there's a 50% increase in mental health disorders. And they attribute largely that to the lifestyle and the things that have happened post-COVID to children and young people. These are formative years. The most vulnerable time of growth and development is between 10 to 15.
That's
from
right.
the tweens to, and that is the time when children are wanting to explore the world, but they're equally vulnerable. They're gullible. They can be led very easily. They're curious, and when they get this free rein to explore a medium or a space which we have no idea about. In fact, they
That's
probably
right.
know more about it than we do as adults. So to say that adults will control it and supervise it is really putting our heads in the sand and not even realizing what kids are capable of doing. If they're given this free rein, they can go berserk in the social media. And besides, of course, the bullying, the trolling, having to fit in, exploitation and abuse is such a major issue. So
Yes.
children are constantly stretching themselves to fit in and to belong.
Okay.
And
So,
that takes a huge toll on their
yes.
mental health.
So, Richa, uh, as a tech expert, what do you think is best? School lessons, parental control, or full ban, which stops phones from changing childhood?
Thank you. As I had already shared in the video also, I would like to maintain that the only solution to this problem is a delay. We have to delay giving phones to our children. We have to delay their social media accounts. And the reason being that, as Saru mentioned, that we can have a supervised as parents we have to supervise, and moderation is the key. But we are talking of families who are not so maybe literate, or who do not have that kind of an exposure or understanding, and they don't have the time for that moderation. So we are talking, not just talking of families who are working in cities and metros. We are also talking of a very, very large population of children who are in the rural areas, who have absolutely no idea of what they're watching on social media. And you would see a lot of them, so many helpers come to our place, and all their children are just busy scrolling. They have accounts, and the kind of content they are consuming, the kind of content that they are generating and creating, it is worrisome. So moderation is fine if we are only talking of a certain segment of people, and of population. But when we are talking of it at a larger scale, compared to the entire population of India, I think the majority is rural, and they have absolutely no idea on how to check this, how to moderate
Okay,
this.
so then what is the role of the school here, Ms. Bakshi? Should schools teach safe use first for teens who perhaps own phones by 14 or 15 or 16?
Definitely. I think there is a lot of education that needs to be done, both for the parents and for the children. And I think just getting children offline, making them see how life is so valuable and so interesting outside your telephones and outside the social media. I mean, that going out to play with a friend is much more entertaining and a lot of fun, rather than being stuck to your phone and scrolling. I believe average person who scrolls is about 5 kilometers with your thumb, and that is so wrong for a child to do. And I think with children, they actually are praised on social media. They get addicted to content. They are watching things which adults have no control over. They are they also have this completely distorted sense of reality, which is because they have influencers, they have who are using filters. So their understanding of themselves is so flawed, because they are always mirroring themselves on people who are not real in life.
Yes.
So,
and it's interesting that my sister got an email from my nephew's teacher, who said that the family should allow a phone for him, because he's 14, doesn't have a phone, doesn't carry a phone to school, because that's an important learning tool. Of course, they live in Pennsylvania, so maybe they have different standards. But the larger issue here is also, Saru, of reels fueling aspirations, but it is also exposing divides. Should we push family-guided apps then over bans, so that the kids who are in urban pockets don't get time to perhaps dodge via proxies, because moms become powerless then?
Absolutely. If that is something can be done, the family guided devices or apps, that would be great. But like she rightly said, that the problem, because we have these conversations very often in our environment about what kind of impact it has on children's mental health, and how it like ma'am rightly said, that it's distorting their version of reality, and it is sadly very, very true. Now, we may have these conversations and our children can be aware, but the larger part of the society, I guess school has major role to play there of how they are educated, how teachers have these conversations with those children and their parents. Because see, I mean, when we're talking about banning, basically you won't be a child below the age of I don't know 16 may not be able to create an account. There's only one setting, I guess, that needs to be done. But the problem is that I have an account, and if I'm handing my phone to my son, then the entire purpose is defeated. So that doesn't really solve the purpose. I have a cousin who lives in Australia, and they say that most of the children are already still using, social
Yes.
media over there despite the ban.
So
I
it is
feel
not
like,
really enforced.
Yeah,
Not really
absolutely.
enforced. So, Richa, can verifiable age gates and design curbs be put in place where the role of big techs comes into, because they have to make their tools, their apps place sensitive or culturally sensitive to a particular geography?
Yeah. So it's not just the role of a particular tech company or a parent. I would say it is an entire ecosystem that needs to change. So firstly, you don't need apps for children who are less than 16. I think there is no social media presence that is required. You can have various learning tools, and there were many present in our times also. So you basically don't need a social media account to be more creative or to really learn a lot of things. Second, I think it is a very big role of a school and parent also. So like Saru said, that in places where parent cannot guide it, the school holds the primary responsibility of guiding the children. And thirdly, why I am in favor of a ban or a complete block is because things that are not available cannot be misused. It's a simple fact. So there is tobacco available in the market. There are drugs. There are vapes. The only thing that you stop your child from doing is that you don't have to use it. You don't tell them that it's there. Use it when you're 16. Use it when you're 18, or use it when you're grown up. You just say that no, it's not allowed, and you don't have to do it because it's not good for you.
Yes.
So anything that's not available will not be misused. I feel that it has to be a big no till they are at an age where their brain is developed enough to figure out what's good for them, what's bad for them. And I think it's true for any other substance that can be used negatively.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Amit Sen, your final thought on this? What really is the way out of it? Because how do you protect young minds from online bullying as well?
Yes, so I think it's a combination of things, and other people in the panel have mentioned some of those already. It has to be a multimodal and a collective responsibility for all concerned. It has to be parents, school, it has to be state who are, making these kind of policies about it. It has to be the tech companies who are also putting guardrails, to make sure that when we have a certain boundary or a ruling, then that is followed to the T. And despite that, of course, there'll be slip-ups. But and the education that Mrs. Bakshi was talking about is so important, to kind of prime them, educate them, and get them ready, perhaps by the time they're 14 or 15, to help them understand what social media is about, what is fake news about, what can influencers do, and again, to create other spaces, just like Mrs. Bakshi was saying. So if you stop screen, what do you do instead is the question. And there, a lot of investment and thought needs to go in. So, parents and schools have to think outside the box and say that in today's day and world, where the screen is so attractive, what can we do or create in place of that which will make children leave their phones and their gadgets and go there to the other activities? That's the thing that we have to collectively think about. And I think if we support each other, if we shoulder up each other, then there is every possibility that we can make this a much better world for our children, where they use screen gadgets for learning, for perhaps even social connections at times, but that doesn't become the central part of their lives. I think that's so important, and it has to be a collective effort, I think.
All right, Sharmila Bakshi, let me give you the final thought on the show tonight, because schools have great responsibilities, but so do mothers and homes. So are there honest conversations which are happening between parents and schools, principals and parents, to ensure that the teens develop the healthy habits?
So I think the conversations are honest because I think as parents and as teachers, as schools, we all want the best for our children. But somewhere I feel that in this present generation, and I may be, it may be wrong for me to say that, but there is an attempt to always please our children. Our parents luckily were not suffering from that. So they were very clear with the yes and the no. And I think that is where, as the new parents and the new parenting rules need to change. There is, for children I think like it black and white. They don't really see the grades so clearly. So while creating the sense of responsibility, as my panelist, one of the panelists just said that everything is available in the world, but we need to make our children that much more responsible for the decisions they take for themselves. And I think that is the crux of it. When we realize that our children are capable of taking the decisions, give it to them. But before that, make those restrictions and do it with a certain amount of right, because you are doing the right thing for your child.
Okay.
And I think, for our school, for example, we don't allow our children to bring phones to school.
Okay.
And when children bring phones to school, they are taken back. I mean, the school keeps them till the end of the academic year. We don't give it back to the children.
Okay. So that's a punishment as well. So thank you so much for joining me on this conversation, Sharmila Bakshi, Dr. Sen, Richa Tandon, and Saru Mukherjee. This is our flagship series called 3Cs, Candid Constructive Conversations, because we are providing a platform to ordinary Indians, you and me, to talk, listen and engage. Next time, another topic which is bothering you. There is a need for some kind of empathy as well in conversation. That's what we are highlighting. Thanks so much for watching.
The decade of 1995 to 2005 was a decade of globalization.
You had economic reform, you had political coalitions coming in vastly different from the others.
Till 98, you had too many prime ministers.
The middle class starts getting prosperous.
Indians looking west, aspiring for a better life.
So soon as satellite television came, we moved on from there on to, in fact, Doordarshan, title called Aaj Tak, which was in Hindi.
You had Kargil and you had Kandahar. I mean, it was just such an easy time.
There were a lot of pressures and a lot of problems.
Heart of the BJP was with Mr. Modi.
No one expected Mr. Vajpayee to lose. It wasn't very surprising. The Congress returns to power.
It was, of course, a coalition government, but the Congress was in a dominant position.
By the end of the next decade, the trust in politicians was at its all-time low.
Anant, did they provide you any formal reason citing why they have detained you?
Uh, as I told you in the starting, they told me, "Are you a YouTuber?" And I said, "I'm just a small, just for as I do as a hobby." They said, "No, no, no, you are a proper YouTuber. You have so many followers." And then I noticed, oh, maybe it's because of the video. I said, "Okay, I am a YouTuber." And then after asking multiple times, "What is the exact reason? Tell me something. Why are you holding me?" And they just said one word: your passport is already flagged by NIA. I don't know what is NIA. Then later they said it's national security. Like I was in China last month. I just made a video 2 weeks before, and you marked me national security. It's like maybe it's their policy. I don't know, but that's the reason that they gave me.
Right, you claimed that हमारी कोई औकात नहीं है in the video. Why did you say so? What made you say so? Did they
हमारी
not allow you to contact the Indian embassy while you were there?
Yes, that was my main point actually. See, what I'm saying is at one point, I'm not making it as a political drama, but what I'm saying is that at one point we are powerful. We are getting strong. Our economy is getting big. The military power is increasing. The geopolitical influence is increasing. And at the same time,